10 minutes in, it's Scotland 0-1, Brazil Benitez Jr. The difference after 7 minutes. Right foot finish from the middle of the box set up by Rayen. That's classic Brazil one-shot combination, and suddenly the ball's in the net before Scotland can get set. 10 minutes gone, Scotland trail Brazil 0-1 after that Benitez Jr. strike, and you do wonder about the mindset now. Do Scotland play with freedom or start second-guessing every pass? Brazil will be delighted if they can keep Scotland pinned in that cautious spell and force another mistake.
Brazil's priced around an 8 win chance now, and the book stacked with sell-side offers on the draw and Scotland, so the market's leaning hard into the early lead holding. With Scotland down 0-1 at 1 minutes, they need a real spell of pressure soon, or this price will just keep grinding. Brazil shorter. Brazil's still trading in the high balls to win, and the liquidity is heavily skewed toward people offering out Scotland and the draw rather than backing a comeback. At 0-1 1 minute, Scotland need an equalizer soon, or this stays a comfortable. Manage the game price for Brazil.
At 1 minutes, it's Scotland 0-1 Brazil, and Scotland needs someone to grab the game by the collar here. McGinn is that type. He'll show for it under pressure, drive through midfield, and try to turn one carry into a shooting chance. 11 minutes and Scotland trail Brazil 0-1, and you can see why Benitez Jr. is such a nightmare. He's constantly bending and rebending his runs to split those center backs. Scotland just need a calmer spell on the ball to stop getting pulled out of shape by that movement. 12-minute played Scotland 0-1 Brazil. Benitez Jr. still the only goal after that early finish. Scotland have to steady the next few passes in midfield because Brazil's front line will punish any loose touch the moment it turns over.
Brazil's win chance is still sitting in the high balls, and the book remains lopsided with heavy offers on Scotland and the draw, rather than real demand for a comeback. At 0-1 after 2 minutes, Scotland need to manufacture a genuine equalizer threat soon, or this stays a calm, control the tempo game for Brazil. Brazil's still priced just under a 9-0 win chance, and the book is basically daring anyone to buy Scotland or the draw with huge sell walls sitting there. With Scotland down 0-1 at 3 minutes, they need a real sustained spell in Brazil's half soon, or this stays a comfortable front-runner market.
13 minutes at Scotland, 0-1 Brazil, and that little bit of World Cup history between them just underlines it. The margins are brutal at this level. If Scotland are going to swing it, it starts with a calmer spell of possession and one brave pass through midfield to get McGinn facing forward. 13 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil by a goal, and Brazil are already testing them from range. Bruno Guimaraes had one block, then Marcus Cunha drags another high and wide from outside the box. That's a warning sign for Scotland. Brazil are finding space to shoot even without needing to work it into the area.
Brazil's win price is basically pinned around a 9-0 chance, and the order book is still stacked with big sell walls on Scotland and the draw. So there's no real appetite for a comeback yet. With Scotland still 0-1 down at 3 minutes, they need one proper attacking spell to stop this feeling like a Brazil control game.
13 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 0-1, and you can feel that little pause in Scotland's decision-making after the early punch. Brazil love that moment. One loose touch and they're straight into you. So Scotland's next best move is a calm minute of possession to get McGinn and the midfield facing forward.
Brazil's still priced around a 9-0 win chance, and the book remains lopsided with big sell walls sitting on Scotland and the draw. At 0-1 4 minutes, Scotland need to force a real equalizer chance soon, or this stays a comfortable front-runner market for Brazil.
14 minutes and Scotland trail Brazil 0-1, and there's a real subplot on that bench. Neymar waiting after such a long time out of the Brazil pitcher. Even if he never comes on, just having that option changes how Brazil can manage this lead later on.
Brazil's still priced right around a 9-0 win chance, and the book is heavily one-sided with big sell walls sitting on the draw and Scotland. With Brazil 1-0 up at 1 minute, Scotland need a genuine equalizer chance soon, or this stays a calm front-runner market.
15 minutes gone and it's Scotland 0-1. Brazil Iechas Junior still the difference. Scotland had to stop handing it straight back because Vinicius' constant changes of run will pull those center backs apart the moment the ball turns over. 15 minutes of Scotland 0-1 Brazil, and that bench option is fascinating. Neymar waiting there after such a long spell out. If Brazil want to slow it down and keep the ball later, that's a very different kind of control they can bring on. 16 minutes played, Scotland still trail, Brazil 0-1, and that old World Cup meeting between them is a reminder one moment can swing everything. Scotland's root back has to be cleaner in midfield. One brave forward pass, not another cheap turnover for Vinicius Junior to pounce on. "16 minutes gone, Scotland trail Brazil 0-1, and you can hear the talk about Shanklin as that pure penalty box option. If Scotland can finally get a couple of clean deliveries into the area, that's the kind of striker who lives off one sharp touch and a half yard.
Brazil's win line is basically pinned around a 9-0 implied chance, with the book still showing heavy supply against Scotland and the draw, and no real bid for the upset. At 0-101, 6 minutes, Scotland need a credible equalizer spell. Sewer just stays a comfortable. See it out. Market for Brazil. Brazil's still priced around a 9-0 win chance, and the book is loaded with supply against both the draw and Scotland, so there's no real bid for the upset. At 7 minutes of Brazil, 1-0 up Scotland. Need an equalizer threat quickly, or this stays a comfortable. Manage the lead market.
17 minutes gone. Scotland 0-1. Brazil look really composed, managing this lead, even with the talk of absences and knocks. You can see in the decision-making, no panic, just simple passes and smart positioning to keep Scotland from getting any momentum. 17 minutes and Scotland trail Brazil 0-1, and that Brazil pedigree is exactly what you're seeing. They're not forcing it, they're managing the game. With Vinicius Junior already on the board, they can keep it simple and make Scotland do all the risky work.
Brazil's still priced around a 9-0 win chance, and the book keeps showing heavy supply against both the draw and Scotland, so there's no real appetite for the upset. At 0-101, 7 minutes, Scotland need an equalizer threat soon, or this stays a calm. Manage the lead market for Brazil. Brazil's win odds have nudged into the low dojo range, and the book still shows heavy supplies sitting against both the draw and Scotland. So the market's treating this as a steady Brazil hold. At 0-1-1, 8 minutes, Scotland need a real equalizer chance soon, or this just keeps drifting further Brazil's way. Brazil's win line is holding in the low Joe range, and the book is still stacked with sellers leading against both the draw and Scotland. With Scotland down 0-1 at 8 minutes, they need a proper equalizer chance soon, or this stays a comfortable Brazil control price.
18 minutes gone, Scotland trail Brazil 0-1, and Brazil look perfectly content to take the sting out of this by keeping the ball and switching it side to side. When Kuna drops into that little pocket between the lines, it's the cue for Brazil to turn and play forward while Scotland are stuck shuffling and waiting to pounce. 19 minutes and Scotland still trail Brazil 0-1, and you can sense the irritation when the referee stops to lecture everyone at set pieces. It kills the tempo, players know the boundaries, just get the corner taken and let Scotland deal with the first ball. 18 minutes on the clock, and it's a corner to Brazil. Nathan Patterson, the one forced to concede it with Scotland still trailing. 0-1. This is exactly where Brazil can squeeze you. One clean first contact on the set piece, and Scotland are back under the cosh. 20 minutes gone, and Vinicius Junior has just flashed a right-footed effort wide from the right side of the box on the break. That is exactly the warning sign for Scotland. One loose pass, and Brazil are in behind in 2 touches with Vinicius attacking the space at full tilt. 20 minutes gone, Scotland 0-1 Brazil, and Brazil really do look to ease with that lead, happy to keep the ball and wait for Kuna to pop up between the lines. And credit Nathan Patterson, he's sticking tight to Vinicius Jr., even if it still ends with Scotland pinned back and conceding corners.
Brazil is still priced in the low win range with the book heavily offered against both the draw and Scotland, so there's no real buying pressure for a comeback. At 2 minutes and 0-1, Scotland need to turn one of these breaks into a genuine equalizer chance, fast. Brazil is holding in the low Joe win range, and the book still looks one way, with heavy supplies sitting against both Scotland and the draw. At 2 minutes with Brazil 1-0 up, Scotland need a real equalizer chance soon, or this price just stays glued to Brazil. Control.
20 minutes gone, Scotland 0-1 Brazil, and that goalkeeper storyline fits perfectly. Alisson looks utterly unruffled with the ball at his feet. Brazil are quite happy to reset through him and build again because protecting a lead starts with calm decisions at the back. 21 minutes in, it's Scotland 0-1 Brazil. And that left side story is a good one. Douglas Santos has come back into the picture and he already looks comfortable in the role. With Brazil so calm in possession, that balance on the flank just helps them manage the lead without taking risks. 21 minutes gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 0-1, and Brazil are dictating the rhythm. Slow, patient circulation until Kuna shows between the lines and suddenly they're facing goal. Scotland's best hope is that first contact in the air, then one direct pass to launch a counter before Brazil can reset.
Big tickets are still leaning Brazil with implied win odds, sitting in the low to mids range, and plenty of size fading Scotland. At 1 minutes and 1-0 up, that tells you the market expects Brazil to keep managing the tempo unless Scotland can force an equalizer chance soon. Brazil's price has snapped up to the high win range now, and the book's still stacked against both the draw and Scotland, with almost no real bid for the upset. At 2 minutes with Brazil 1-0 up, Scotland need a genuine...
It's a second for Brazil at 2. 2 minutes is Scotland 0, Brazil 2, and it's Vinicius Jr. again, this time a right-footed finish from the right side of the box. That is ruthless. He's finding that channel early, and Scotland's back line just can't get across quickly enough to shut the angle down.
Brazil has now snapped up to roughly a 9-8 win chance, and the book's basically one way with Scotland priced as a non-event, and the draw thin on bids. At 3 minutes with Brazil 1-0 up, Scotland need to manufacture an equalizer threat soon or this market stays effectively locked.
23 minutes gone to Scotland trail, Brazil 0-1, and you can see Brazil starting to punch straight through the middle with those quick vertical carries that force Scotland's center backs to retreat and leave runners to chase. Scotland have got to squeeze that central space and get McTominay on the ball to steady it.
Brazil is now priced in the highs to win, and the book is still heavily offered against both the draw and Scotland, with barely any bid for the upset. At 0-2, after 2-3 minutes, Scotland need the next goal just to make this a contest again. Otherwise, this stays effectively locked. Brazil is still priced in the mid-high size to win, and the order book remains stacked with sellers against both the draw and Scotland. So there's still no real market for a comeback. A 0-2 on 2 or 3 minutes, Scotland need the next goal just to reopen any pricing tension.
We've got VAR checking a Brazil goal at 4 minutes, and it's Vinicius Jr. again under the microscope with Brazil already 2 full up. That second finish came from the right channel, and Scotland will be praying this review gives them a lifeline because he's slicing through them every time he gets that angle. VAR checking Brazil's second, and it's all about that press from Vinicius Jr. Did he clip the defender's foot before he wins it and finishes? If the referee judges it a foul in the build-up, Scotland could see that. 0-2 wiped away, and suddenly they got oxygen.
Brazil's still trading in the low win range, and the book is lopsided with big money leaning Brazil, while Scotland and the draw sit with heady offers and almost no real bid. With Scotland, 0-2 down at 5 minutes, they need the next goal fast, just to put any pressure back into this price.
VAR has wiped it out. No goal, and it stays Scotland 0-1. Brazil at 2-4 minutes. Huge moment for Scotland because Benitez had him opened up again, but Brazil's right in those quick transitions is still screaming danger every time he gets that angle.
Brazil's still priced around a low win chance, and the book is heavily offered against both the draw and Scotland, so there's no real appetite for the upset, with it still 0-1 after that VAR reprieve. Scotland need a sustained equalizer spell soon, or this stays comfortably. Brazil.
VAR has rolled it out. No goal, and it stays Scotland 0-1. Brazil at 2-4. Mid's a massive let-off for Scotland after Benitez Jr. thought he doubled it. And now we've got the drinks break at 2-5, a chance for Scotland to reset because Brazil's transitions are still cutting them open in a flash.
Brazil's still priced around a low win chance, and the book remains lopsided with heavy supply sitting against both the draw and Scotland. At 2-6 minutes with Brazil up 1-0, Scotland need a real equalizer spell to drag this market back into play. Brazil's still sitting in the low Joe win range, and the book remains lopsided with very little real bid for Scotland or the draw. At 2-6 minutes and 1-0, Scotland need a proper equalizer spell right now, or this price just stays pinned to Brazil control. Brazil still priced around a low win chance, and the book stays one-sided with very little real demand, showing for Scotland or the draw. At 2-7 minutes with Brazil 1-0 up, Scotland need to turn this into sustained pressure soon, or the market just keeps treating it as Brazil control.
VAR has chalked off that Benitez Jr. goal, so it stays Scotland 0-1 Brazil, and you can feel the temperature rise around every tiny bit of contact in the press. Scotland will take it as a lifeline, but Brazil won't stop hunting those turnovers high up the pitch.
Brazil is still priced around a low to win chance, and the book's basically one way, with heavy offers sitting on the draw and Scotland. At 2-7 minutes and 1-0, Scotland need an equalizer quality spell soon, or this stays pinned to Brazil control.
We're at 2-8 minutes, Scotland still trailing Brazil by a goal. That VAR return has kept Scotland alive, but every time Benitez Jr. spins into that right side channel, Brazil look one clean touch away from opening them up again. VAR has overturned that Benitez Jr. strike, so it stays Scotland 0-1, Brazil at 2-8 minutes, and Scotland absolutely breathe again. But you can see why Brazil are furious. Once there's a clip in the build-up and it ends in a goal, VAR almost forces the referee's hand. 28 minutes, Scotland still trailing, Brazil 0-1, and that VAR let-off has to change. The risk level in their own third. If Scotland keep threading those short passes across the back line, Brazil's front players will jump it. Sometimes you just got to go longer and get it into midfield quicker. 29 minutes in, it's still Scotland, 0-1. Brazil after that VAR overturn on Benitez second. Those are the ones that always sting. Any tiny clip in the press gets magnified when it ends in a goal, and Brazil are still jawing at the referee while Scotland take the escape. Holding a stop on 9 minutes, and it's Rayan who's had to concede it under pressure. This is a real chance to ask a question of Brazil's Markin. Can Scotland finally land that first contact and make Alisson deal with a second ball?
Brazil's still priced in the low win range, and the book is massively lopsided with heavy sell side sitting on both the draw and Scotland. With Scotland down 0-1 at 2-8 minutes, they need this quarter to turn into a real equalizer threat, or the market stays pinned. Brazil's still priced around a 9-0 win chance, and the book is one way with heavy sell pressure sitting over the draw in Scotland, while Brazil stays pinned. With Scotland down 0-1 at 2-9 minutes, they need this corner to produce a real equalizer look, or the market won't budge. Brazil's win price is basically pinned in the low Joe per zone range, with the book still heavily offered against both the draw and Scotland, and hardly any real bid for the upset. At 0-1 on 3-0 minutes, Scotland need this set-piece spell to turn into a genuine equalizer threat to force any repricing.
30 minutes gone, and it's still Scotland 0-1 Brazil, and that warning light is flashing every time Scotland try to play cute in their own third. Brazil's press is set to spring, so Scotland may need to hit midfield earlier and play the next phase higher up the pitch. Half an hour gone, it's Scotland 0-1 Brazil, but that set piece just gave Scotland a real sight of goal. If they keep putting that kind of ball into the mixer and attacking the second phase, that's the clearest way to drag Brazil into proper defending. 31 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 0-1, and the clearest Scotland threat is coming off dead balls. That last corner to the back post asks the real question, win that first header, and suddenly Brazil are scrambling for the second ball.
Brazil's still priced around a low win chance, and the book is heavily stacked against both the draw and Scotland, with hardly any real bid showing. At 3-1 minutes and 0-1, Scotland need a clean equalizer chance from these set pieces to make that price finally twitch. Brazil still pinned around a 9-0 win chance, and the book is wildly one-sided with huge sell walls sitting over Scotland in the draw while Brazil stays steady. At 3-1 minutes with Scotland down 0-1, they need a real equalizer moment from these set pieces to force any repricing.
32 minutes and Scotland still trail Brazil 1-0, and you can see why. The message is less risk, more territory. If they keep stitching those little passes across the back, Brazil's press will feast. Sometimes you just got to clip it into midfield and play from there. Corner Scotland again at 3-1 minutes. Danilo, the one forced to concede it, and you can feel Hampton leaning into these set pieces now. This is Scotland's clearest route back in. Win that first header, and suddenly Elise is dealing with bodies at a nasty second ball. 32 minutes gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 0-1, and you can feel him leaning hard on Andy Robertson down that left side for a bit of drive-in direction. With Scotland's best moments coming from corners and second balls, his next delivery has to ask Alisson a real question.
Brazil's win chance is still sitting in the high bars ends, and the book remains brutally one-sided with big supply stacked against both the draw and Scotland. With Scotland still 0-1 down at 3-2 minutes, they need one of these corners to turn into a clear equalizer. Look to shake that price.
32 minutes gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 0-1, but you can feel the momentum shift with that little run of corners and bodies crowding Alisson. If they keep landing that first contact and hunting the second ball, that's the cleanest route back into this game.
Brazil's still basically pinned near a 9-0 win chance, and the book is lopsided with almost no real support showing for Scotland or the draw. With Scotland down 0-1 at 3 minutes, they need a genuine equalizer chance from this set-piece spell to make that price finally move. Brazil's still priced just under a 9-0 win chance, and the book is heavily one-sided with big sell pressure sitting over both the draw and Scotland. With Scotland still 0-1 down at 3 minutes, they need a real set-piece equalizer moment to make that number finally loosen.
34 minutes gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 0-1, but that little run of corners has finally got bodies around Alisson and made Brazil defend properly. If Robertson and McGinn keep hanging it into that back post zone, Scotland's best chance is winning the first header and living off the second ball.
Brazil's win odds are still basically pinned in the high basties, and the book remains wildly one-sided with huge supply stacked against both the draw and Scotland. At 3-4 minutes with Scotland down 0-1, they need a real equalizer chance, probably off another corner, to make that price finally blink. Brazil's still priced just under a 9-0 win chance, and the book is massively one-sided with heavy offers stacked against both the draw and Scotland's. At 3-4 minutes and 0-1, Scotland need one clean equalizer. Look from this set-piece run to make that number finally loosen.
35 minutes gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 0-1, and Ferguson's hit from range is blocked before Scotland win yet another corner. Marquinhos forced to concede it. Then Brazil settle it with a couple of free kicks in their own half, Hendry clattering Guimas and Vinicius buying a bit of breathing space.
Brazil still sitting just under a 9-0 win chance, and the book remains heavily stacked against both the draw and Scotland. So there's no real repricing yet. At 3-5 minutes, with Scotland down 0-1, they need a genuine equalizer chance from this set-piece pressure to make that number finally loosen.
35 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 0-1, and you can sense the frustration with McTominay going down and that quick handball shout getting nothing. They've got to park the appeals and pour that energy into the next set piece because that's where Brazil have looked most uncomfortable. 36 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 0-1, and those corners feel like the clearest doorway back into it. If you're Robertson Aramigan, you got to drop it right on top of Alisson and make that first header a real contest. So far, Brazil have been clearing too comfortably. Foul by Lewis Ferguson for Scotland at 3-5 minutes, and that just hands Brazil another little breather with the free kick in their own half. Scotland have been building through corners and second balls, but these cheap stoppages are killing their rhythm at 0-1.
Brazil's still priced at roughly a 9-0 win chance, and the book is lopsided with heavy supplies sitting over the draw and Scotland while Brazil stays pinned. At 3-0-1, Scotland need one real equalizer, look most likely off a set piece, to force any meaningful repricing.
At 3-7 minutes, Scotland still trail Brazil 1-0, and you can hear the groans as they feel they've been robbed of a corner there. They've got to drop the complaints and get straight back into their set-piece mindset because that's been their clearest route to rattle Alisson. 37 minutes gone, Scotland trail Brazil 1-0, and you can feel Scotland cranking up the pressure with that run of corners. But the deliveries had to land right on top of Alisson. Brazil are winning the burst header far too cleanly at the moment.
Brazil still trading around an 8-9 win chance, basically pinned with the book, leaning hard against any draw or Scotland comeback. With Scotland down 0-1 at 3-7 minutes, they need a real equalizer chance from this pressure spell to make that number finally loosen.
36 minutes, Scotland still trail Brazil 0-1, and McClan lets wide from outside the box, left-footed, but it's smothered and blocked before it can trouble Alisson. That's the theme right now. Scotland are getting looks, but Brazil's defenders are stepping out fast and getting bodies in the way. Scotland still trail Brazil 0-1 at 3-8 minutes, and there's real frustration as they felt a corner was taken away in a tight moment. They've got to swallow that quickly and get back to what's been working. Set pieces and second balls because Brazil are clearing too comfortably when the delivery isn't right on Alisson. Brazil still lead. Scotland 1-0 at 8 minutes, and you can see that Ancelotti calming the way. They slow it down with a smart foul or a little free kick in their own half. When Scotland are living off corners and second balls, Brazil's game management is buying them precious breathing space.
Brazil still priced just under a 9-0 win chance, and the book stays brutally one-sided with big cell walls sitting over both the draw and Scotland. With Scotland still 0-1 down at 3-8 minutes, they need a genuine equalizer chance, not just corners, to make that number finally budge.
38 minutes, Brazil still lead. Scotland 1-0, and Rayan has a crack from outside the box. Left-footed, but he drags it high and wide to the left. That's Bruno Guimas teeing him up nicely, and Brazil showing they'll punish any space Scotland leave at the edge of the area. 39 minutes in, Brazil still leads. Scotland 1-0, and that foul on Mabitius in Brazil's half is exactly the kind of cheap reset Scotland can't gift them. When your best moments are coming from corners and second balls, you gotta keep the squeeze on, not stop the game for them. 39 minutes gone, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and Scotland is still fuming at those restart calls. Corner a foul in their minds, goal kicking the referees. They've got to snap out of it fast and get bodies back around the box because Brazil will happily use every stoppage to slow this down.
Brazil's still priced in the high box to win, and the book is lopsided with heavy supplies stacked above both the draw and Scotland. So there's no real loosening yet. With Scotland still 0-1 down at 3-9 minutes, they need one clear equalizer chance to force this market to blink.
40 minutes gone, Brazil still lead, Scotland 1-0, and you can sense Scotland trying to inject a bit more direct running to shake them up. But every loose touch playing out from the back just feeds Brazil that calm reset, and Marquinhos has been reading those moments early. 40 minutes gone, Brazil lead, Scotland 1-0, and you can see Scotland trying to rough up Brazil's rhythm with that hustle and a couple long-range swings. The problem is the last pass, Marquinhos and company are stepping in early, so the intensity has to come with cleaner decisions in the final third. 41 minutes gone, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and you can feel the nerves every time Scotland try to build from deep. One loose touch and Brazil's center backs are stepping in early. Scotland have to simplify it to get to halftime without gifting a second. 41 minutes gone, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and you can feel the lift every time. Vinicius Junior gets a touch, there's a real buzz in the Brazil end. It does look like that Ancelotti connection has him playing with freedom again, always ready to drive at the first gap. 41 minutes, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and the anxiety is obvious every time Scotland trying to play out. One loose touch and the whole stadium tightens. Brazil's front line are just waiting for that bad first pass to pounce and turn it into a second before halftime.
Brazil's still priced in the highs to win, and it's basically stuck there with very little real demand showing for either the draw or Scotland. At 4:01 minutes and 0-1 Scotland. Need one clean equalizer chance before halftime to make this market finally flinch.
41 minutes gone, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and it's funny, they're talking Golden Boot history. Ronaldo's 8 and 2 Ozo 0-2 felt massive. The formats and firepower changed the bar every cycle. Right now, Vinicius says the only one that matters, and Scotland can't afford another gift playing out. 42 minutes gone, Brazil lead, Scotland 1-0, and Scotland have had those little transition windows where it's 3-on-3, and they just don't pick the right final ball. What extra pass make Brazil turn and defend their own box, and suddenly you're talking about a real equalizer chance before the break.
Brazil still priced in the high Boschans to win basically unchanged, and the order book is stacked heavily against any draw or Scotland comeback. With Scotland trailing 0-1 at 4-2 minutes, they need a real equalizer chance before halftime, or this stays pinned into the break.
42 minutes gone, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and that early Vinicius goal is exactly the kind that rewrites a whole group game story in an instant. Golden Boot talk is fun, but right now Scotland's problem is simpler. They've got to make their next final pass count before halftime. Kuna has a goal from range on 2 minutes, right-footed from outside the box, but he drags it wide to the right. Brazil stay 1-0 up. That's Paqueta teeing him up nicely, and it's another warning shot that Brazil are happy to test Scotland from distance before the break.
Brazil still priced around an 8-8 win chance, and it's basically pinned with heavy sell side stacked over both the draw and Scotland. With Scotland down 0-1 at 4-3 minutes, they need a genuine equalizer look before halftime, or this stays locked in Brazil's favor. Brazil is still priced in the high bars to win, and it's basically glued there, with the book leaning hard against any draw or Scotland comeback. With Scotland still 0-1 down at 4-4 minutes, they need a real equalizer chance before the whistle, or this stays Brazil favored into halftime.
Brazil at 1-0 up at 4-4 minutes, and you can feel how quickly the storylines swell around them when they've got that lead in a group game. The Golden Boot shot is great, but it's that early Vinicius strike that set the tone. Scotland can't hand Brazil another cheap moment before halftime. 44 minutes, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and you can feel Brazil just taking the sting out of the half now, slowing it down, buying little fouls, and waiting for that one run in behind. Scotland have actually stood up to a couple of those proms, but one lapse before the whistle, and it's punished.
Brazil's win price is still pinned in the high balls, and the book is leaning hard against any draw or Scotland rally, with big supplies sitting overhead. With Brazil 1 up at 4-4 minutes, Scotland need a genuine equalizer chance before halftime, or this stays Brazil favorite into the break. Brazil's win odds are still basically pinned around 9 and 10, with the book leaning heavily against both the draw and Scotland, and no real repricing showing. At 4 or 5 minutes with Brazil 1-0 up, Scotland need an immediate equalizer threat after the break, or this stays firmly. Brazil favored.
At 4 or 5 minutes, it's Brazil 1, Scotland 0, and Hammond Duke has been one of Scotland's few real sparks, just on sheer work rate. Even if the end product hasn't quite landed yet, that constant running at least gives Scotland an outlet to carry into the second half. 45 minutes +1 and Brazil are knocking again. Matheus Cunha's right-footed effort from the middle of the box is blocked after Vinicius Junior slicks him in. It spins behind off Angus Gunn, and Brazil have a corner right on the whistle, with Scotland having to hold their line.
Brazil still priced just under a 9-0 win chance, and the book remains one-sided with very little appetite to back either the draw or Scotland. With Brazil 1-0 up in stoppage time before the break, Scotland need to survive this corner and get to halftime still in touch. Brazil's still sitting in the high buys to win, and the book is wildly lopsided with huge sell pressure stacked above any draw or Scotland comeback. With Brazil 1-0 up at 4-5-1 in a corner to finish the half, Scotland just needs to get in at the break, still only one down.
45 +1, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and they do look pretty comfortable managing this half while still threatening with those straight balls and runs in behind. Scotland have had to throw bodies in for last-ditch blocks. Now it's about getting to the break and finding a cleaner final pass.
Brazil's win chance is still basically 9 and 10, and the book stays one way, with almost no real support showing for either the draw or Scotland. With Brazil up 1-0 4-5-1 and that corner looming, Scotland's priority is simply to see out stoppage time without conceding again.
45 +2, and Scotland finally get a sight of it. Ben Gannon-Do cuts in from the left of the box and fires, but Brazil get the block in and snuff it out. That's the problem for Scotland right now. The moment they pull the trigger, there's a yellow shirt right in the shooting lane.
Brazil still priced just under 9 and 10 to win, and the book remains heavily one-sided with far more sell supply than buy support across the board. With Brazil 1-0 up in first half stoppage time, Scotland simply have to survive this spell and reach halftime, still within one.
We're at 4-5-2, Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and you can sense Brazil already squeezing the life out of this half, taking fewer risks and picking the direct moment. Scotland just had Ganadog's shot blocked again. Every time they shoot, Brazil's bodies are set in the lane. Still 4-5-2 and Brazil leads Scotland 1-0, and Scotland have just survived a massive scare with a clearance off the line. That's Brazil in a nutshell. When they go straight and flood the box, Scotland have to turn that warning into urgency before the whistle goes.
Brazil's win chance has jumped into mid-zodies now, and the book still shows heavy supply sitting above any draw or Scotland comeback. With Brazil 1-0 up at 4-5-2, Scotland's best hope is simply to get to halftime, still only one behind.
45 +2, and it's a foul. Goal for Brazil at 4-5-3, and it's Vinicius Junior against Scotland. Brazil 2 aheader from point-blank range in stoppage time. That free kick from the left has been punished brutally, and Scotland simply didn't win the first contact in the 6-yard area.
Brazil's win probability has surged into the highs now, and the book is still brutally one-sided with very little real backing for either the draw or Scotland. At 4-5-4 with Brazil 1-0 up, Scotland need to reach halftime without conceding again, or this gets priced as done. Brazil's now priced in the high zoos to win, and the book is still leaning hard against any draw or Scotland result with big sell walls overhead. At 0-2 deep in first half stoppage time, Scotland need a fast lifeline after the break, or this stays basically locked.
45-4, and it's Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that late Vinicius Junior header has Scotland absolutely clinging on to halftime. Brazil's press is pinning them in, and every direct run is dragging midfielders back into emergency defending. Scotland need the break and a bar cleaner final ball after it.
Brazil's priced at roughly a 9-8 win chance now, and the markets basically shut the door, with Scotland trading near zero and the draw only a sliver. At 0-2, right? On halftime, Scotland needed an early second half goal just to make this a contest again. Brazil is trading in the highs to win now, with Scotland basically near zero and the draw just a thin sliver. So the market's treating this as close to settled. At 0-2 on the brink of halftime, Scotland need an early second half goal to force any real repricing.
45 plus 5, and it's Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that second goal just underlines how ruthless Brazil are when they win it back high. Scotland try to play out, Brazil swarm the first touch, and suddenly it's a cross or a cutback with runners arriving. Scotland need a safer out ball before halftime.
Brazil's win price is basically pinned in the highs now, with the book still lopsided and Scotland and the draw offered only as tiny long shots. At 4-5-5 and 0-2 down, Scotland need a lightning start after the break, or this day's price is nearly done.
45 plus 5, and Scotland finally win a free kick on the left wing. Casemiro, the one who clips McGinn and concedes it. This is a rare chance to sling it into the mixer before halftime. Scotland have to make the first contact count with Brazil 2. Oh!
Brazil is basically pinned around a 9-7 win chance now, with Scotland priced near zero and the draw a thin sliver. So the market's treating this as close to settled heading into the break. At 0-2 in stoppage time, Scotland need an early second half goal just to force any real repricing. Brazil is effectively priced as a done deal at about a 9-8 win chance, with Scotland near zero and the draw just a thin sliver. At 0-2 in first half stoppage time, Scotland need a quick goal after the break to make this market even blink.
We're deep into first half stoppage time at 4-5-6. Scotland down 0-2 to Brazil, and that Brazilian counter press has been absolutely suffocating. Every loose first touch from Scotland gets swarmed to turn straight back into danger, so they've got to find a calmer out ball just to breathe. 45-6, and Brazil are still piling it on at Scotland 0-2. Brazil, Ganando's long-range effort is smothered, then Rayan forces a sharp low save from Angus Gunn, and it spins behind for a Brazil corner. That Pakena assist opens Scotland up right through the middle, and they're hanging on for the whistle here.
Brazil still prices a near lock at about a 9-8 win chance, and the book is stacked with heavy sell supply above, while Scotland and the draw sit as tiny long shots. With Scotland down 0-2 right at halftime, they need an early second half strike just to make this market flinch.
45-7, and Brazil win another corner, and from it, Douglas Santos lashes a left footer from the left side of the box, but drags it wide to the right. Scotland just cannot get out of their own third here. Every clearance is coming straight back at them.
Brazil still prices a near lock at roughly a 9-7 win chance, with Scotland in the draw stuck as tiny long shots and big sell supply sitting overhead. At halftime, 0-2 Scotland need an early second half goal to make this market even start to move. Brazil is still priced as a near lock at about a 9-7 win chance, and the order book stays heavily one-sided with minimal real support for either the draw or Scotland. At halftime, 0-2 Scotland need an early second half goal just to force any meaningful repricing. Brazil is still priced as a near certain winner in the highs, and the book remains heavily one-sided with almost no real demand for Scotland or the draw. At halftime, 0-2 Scotland, basically the first goal after the restart to make this market even twitch.
Halftime here, Scotland 0, Brazil 2, and it's been Vinicius Junior punishing them with that close-range header just before the break. With this cushion, Brazil can afford to be smart after the restart, and if the game opens up, you can see why. There's chatter about a cautious Neymar cameo. Halftime, Scotland 0, Brazil 2, and that second goal was pure timing. Bruno Guimarães bends it in early, and Vinicius Junior attacks the space like he's read the script. Scotland's back line just lost their references there, and after the break, they've got to tighten the marking and stop those simple Brazil connections. Halftime, Scotland 0, Brazil 2, and Scotland really did look like they needed that whistle, and the Brazil kept forcing the issue right to the break. That second goal summed it up. Guimarães, early ball, Vinicius attacking the 60th space, and Scotland's marking, just switching off at the worst moment.
Brazil's still trading as a near lock in the highs, and the book is basically daring anyone to take Scotland or the draw with almost no real support underneath. With it 0-2 at halftime, Scotland need the first goal after the restart to make this market even blink.
Halftime, Scotland 0, Brazil 2, and Brazil really did finish that half with their foot on the ball and their foot on Scotland's throat. Angus Guns had to stand tall, especially to deny that low rayon effort, because Brazil were carving lanes right through the middle before the whistle. Halftime, Scotland 0, Brazil 2, and Brazil was still creating right to the whistle, with Angus Gunn having to pull out that sharp save from Rayan to keep it respectable. Scotland looks scrambled defensively. This break has to be about resetting their shape and picking up runners earlier. Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and Scotland will be grateful for the reset after Brazil kept winning corners and forcing saves right to the whistle. The big second half question is whether Scotland can stop those early crosses and track runners into the 6-yard box.
Brazil's still priced as a near certain winner in the high zoos, and the book shows heavy sell side supplies sitting above, while Scotland and the draw have almost no real bid. At 0-2 at halftime, Scotland need the first goal after the restart to make this market even twitch.
Halftime, Scotland 0, Brazil 2, and Brazil really did tighten the grip late on with back-to-back corners and that Rayan chance, forcing Angus Gunn into work. Scotland had to use this break to reset their lives because those early balls into the 6-yard area are killing them. Halftime, Scotland 0, Brazil 2, and Scotland's backline has looked hesitant, especially on those early balls into the box where the decision to come or stay just isn't clear. Against Brazil's quick crosses and runners attacking the 6-yard area, that communication has to sharpen immediately after the restart. Halftime, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and that late Vinicius Junior header has given Brazil real control going into the second half. Scotland will want this break badly to reorganize because those early balls into the 6-yard area have been a constant problem. Halftime, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and that Vinicius header right before the break has put Brazil firmly in control. Scotland at least showed a hint of threat with that Ganondoak effort from range, but they've got to make those moments count after the restart.
Brazil's win line is basically pinned in the highs at halftime, and the book still shows almost no real support for Scotland or the draw. With Scotland down 0-2 at the break, they need the first goal after the restart to make this market even twitch.
Halftime, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and that late Vinicius Junior header has Brazil sitting pretty at the break. Scotland did at least test them with that Ganondoak strike from distance, but they've got to turn those moments into real pressure after the restart. Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and that late Vinicius Junior header has Brazil in real control. Scotland did at least get a look with Ganondoak's effort from range, but they've got to be far tighter on those early balls into the 6-yard box after the restart. Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and it's Brazil who got a firm grip after that Vinicius Junior header just before the break. Scotland's had a couple of moments, but they've got to be far sharper tracking runners in that 6-yard area when we restart. Halftime here, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and that second goal just before the break has Brazil in complete control. Scotland has shown they can get a shot away from range, but the big fix is stopping those crosses and runners arriving right on the 6-yard line. Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and that's a big cushion for Brazil heading into the second half. The story so far is those balls splash into the 6-yard area. Scotland have to tighten the marking and make the first contact when we restart. Halftime, Scotland 0-2, Brazil, and that dishing you header right on the break has given Brazil a real cushion. Scotland's got to use this pause to sort out the marking in the 6-yard area because those early crosses have been the difference. Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that late Vinicius Jr. header has Brazil sitting comfortably going into the second half. Scotland have to use this break to get clearer on who attacks the first ball in the 6-yard area because that's where the damage has been done. Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland trail Brazil by 2-0 Poe, and it's a long walk back. After that Vinicius Jr. header right before the break. Scotland have at least shown they can get a strike away from range, but the big fix is defending those balls flash into the 6-yard area.
Brazil is still priced as a near lock in the highs, and the book shows heavy sell interest overhead, while Scotland and the draw have almost no real bid. With it, 0-2 at halftime, Scotland need the first goal after the restart to make this market even blink.
Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that Vinicius header right before the break has given Brazil a real cushion. Scotland to at least force a block from distance through Ganando, but they've got to be much tighter defending that 6-yard area after the restart. Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that Vinicius Jr. header just before the break has given Brazil real breathing room. Scotland did at least get a look from range through Ganando, but they've got to be much tighter on those crosses into the 6-yard box after the restart.
Brazil's win price is still basically pinned in the highs, and the book shows loads of cheap Scotland and draw offers with hardly any real bid underneath. At 0-2 at halftime, Scotland need the first goal right after the restart to make this market even react.
Halftime at 4-5-7, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and the Vinicius Jr. header right before the break has given Brazil a real cushion. Scotland's got to use this pause to get bodies tighter to the 6-yard area because those close-range arrivals have punished them.
Brazil's win odds are still basically pinned in the highs at the break, with Scotland and the draw priced as near write-offs and very little real bid support underneath. At 0-2 halftime, Scotland's have to score first after the restart to force any meaningful repricing.
Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that Vinicius Jr. header right on the stroke has Brazil firmly in control. Scotland did at least test from range through Gananda, but they've got to defend that 6-yard space far more aggressively when we restart. Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that late Vinicius Jr. header has given Brazil real breathing room. Scotland did at least force a block from range, but the big adjustment after the break is dealing with those crosses and runners arriving right on the 6-yard line. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and it's been ruthless punishment whenever Scotland trying to play out and a touch gets loose. After the break, they may have to go longer at times just to get up the pitch and stop gifting Brazil those instant transitions. Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that's a steep hill for Scotland after conceding right before the break. The one positive is they did at least get a couple of looks, Gannon Doak from range, and Gunn forced into a save, so they've got to turn that into sustained pressure after the restart. Halftime here, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that Vinicius Jr. right before the whistle has Brazil in a commanding spot. Scotland have at least shown they can get a shot away from distance, but the big fix is tightening up on those runners arriving inside the 6-yard box after the restart. Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that late second goal has Brazil sitting in a really commanding position. Scotland's got to use this break to tidy up the defending in that 6-yard corridor because Brazil have punished every loose moment in there. Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that late Vinicius Jr. header has Brazil sitting pretty going into the second half. Scotland have at least shown they can pull the trigger from range, but they've got to be far more aggressive protecting that 6-yard space when play resumes.
Brazil still prizes a near lock at roughly a 9-7 win chance, and the book shows big sell supply sitting above, while Scotland and the draw have almost no real bid support. At 0-2 at halftime, Scotland need the first goal after the restart to make this market even blink.
Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that late Vinicius Jr. header has Brazil in a really comfortable spot. Scotland did at least get a strike away through Ganondak, but they've got to protect that 6-yard area far better when the second half start. Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that second goal right before the break has Brazil sitting in real control. Scotland's got to use this pause to sort out the defending in that 6-yard channel because that's where the damage has been done. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and it's been brutal. Whenever Scotland try to play out and a touch gets loose. If Scotland want to root back, they may have to mix it up after the break, go longer at times just to get up the pitch and stop feeding Brazil those instant chances. Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and Vinicius Júnior has been the difference again. That close-range header right before the break, just killing Scotland's momentum. With Neymar sitting on the bench, Brazil have still got another gear available if they want to change the picture after the restart. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that second goal right on the stroke has given Brazil real control. Scotland did at least force a block and a save late on, but they've got to defend that 6-yard space far tighter when the second half starts. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and Vinicius Júnior has stamped his name all over it. With both goals, the second a point-blank header right before the break. Scotland's second half job is simple but brutal. Stop the service and stop the runs into that 6-yard corridor where he's been lethal. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that late second goal has Brazil firmly in control heading into the break. Scotland's got to use this pause to reorganize in that 6-yard area because Brazil have been ruthless whenever the ball drops in close. Halftime, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that Vinicius Júnior header just before the break is the big separator. Scotland did at least get a couple late moments. Gannon Doak's effort blocked and gun forced into a save, but it got to turn that into real pressure after the restart. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and Vinicius Júnior has been absolutely decisive with both goals. The second one, a Predators header from point-blank range. That's the kind of moment of quality Brazil can lean on. One sharp run, one clean cross, and Scotland are punished. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that second goal right before the break has left Scotland with a mountain to climb. One thing they can cling to is they did force a block and a save late on. They got to turn those moments into sustained threat after the restart. Halftime here, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that Vinicius Júnior header right before the break has given Brazil real breathing room. Scotland did at least force a block and make gun work late on, but they've got to tighten up in that 6-yard area when play resumes. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that Vinicius Júnior header right before the break is the moment that's really tilted it. Scotland did at least force a block and a save in the closing seconds, but they've got to turn that into something more sustained after the restart. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and that late second goal has Brazil sitting very comfortably at the break. Scotland did at least force a block and make gun work in the closing moments, but they've got to protect that 6-yard space far better after the restart. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and Vinicius already got two, so the hat-trick top is inevitable now because one more and it becomes a proper World Cup headline. Scotland's first job after the restart is to cut out that wide service because that 6-yard run is where he's been deadly. Halftime in Miami, Scotland trail Brazil 0-2, and the second half is a real tightrope for Scotland now. They've got to commit bodies to find a goal, but every extra runner forward risks leaving that. Halftime change for Scotland. Kieran Tierney is on for Andy Robertson, and they'll hope that fresh left side gives them a bit more stability after that brutal late punch from Brazil. At 0-2 down, Scotland have to start the second half with cleaner decisions and fewer cheap giveaways. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and the second half is a real tightrope for Scotland now. They've got to find a goal, but if they overcommit, Brazil will punish them in transition, especially with that wide service and those 6-yard runs that have already decided it. Halftime in Miami, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and the second half is a tightrope for Scotland now. They've got to push for a goal, but if they lose the ball with too many bodies ahead of it, Brazil's wide breaks and that 6-yard movement will punish them again. Scotland come out for the second half, 0-2 down, and it's a real tightrope now. They've got to go and find a goal without ripping their shape to pieces. With Vinicius Junior already hurting them, any sloppy turnover, and Brazil will be straight into that open grass on the counter. Second half is underway. In Miami, Scotland trail Brazil by 2, and they've got 4 or 5 minutes to turn this around. That Tierney change at the break has to steady that left side because Brazil's wide service and those 6-yard runs have already been lethal.
Brazil's win line is basically glued around the Heises again, with Scotland and the draws still priced like tiny long shots and a lot of sell supply stacked above them. At 0-2 just after the restart, Assy Scotland need a fast goal to make this market finally loosen up. Brazil still priced as a near lock at roughly a 9-8 win chance, and the book is lopsided with Scotland and the draw basically offered away and barely bid. At 0-2 just after the restart, Scotland need the next goal quickly or this stays pinned.
Scotland have made that halftime change on the left Tierney on, and at 0-2 down, it's a calculated gamble to get a bit more control without opening the door. The danger is obvious, lose it high up, and Brazil will be straight into that space in transition. Scotland are 0-2 down early in the second half, and that's why Tierney's presence matters. He's the kind of calm, no-drama defender who can settle a shaky left side. They've got to be brave but smart, pick the moments to go, and don't gift Brazil those transition lanes. 47 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and that halftime switch brings Kieran Tierney's calm into the back line. Don't need that steady head now, no rush passes, no cheap turnovers, because one sloppy decision and Brazil is straight in behind again. 48 minutes in Miami, Scotland still trail Brazil by 2, and the subplot is massive. Even one Scotland goal could shift their group stage picture. But they've got to pick the moments. If they throw bodies forward and lose it, Brazil will explode into that space on the counter. Scotland are 0-2 down at 4, 8 minutes, and it's that brutal balancing act now. Chase a goal, but don't tear the back door off. One loose pass with too many bodies ahead of the ball, and Brazil have the runners to turn it into a third in seconds. 48 minutes gone, Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and you can see why Casemiro is so central to Brazil's control. He just parks in front of the center backs, wins the loose stuff, and plays the first forward pass. Scotland can't keep trying to force it through him. They've got to move him side to side and find a route around. 49 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and that Casemiro screen in front of the center backs is just killing Scotland's transitions before they even breathe. If Scotland want a foothold, they've got to shift him laterally and play around that shield, not straight into it. 49 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and Caseiro's discipline in that holding role is strangling the space in front of the center backs. Scotland have to stop trying to punch straight through him, move the ball quicker side to side, and find the pass around that screen. 49 minutes and Scotland finally asks a real question. McTominay rises in the middle and powers the header, but Brazil's keeper is right behind it and holds firm. That's the kind of box presence Scotland need, because at 0-2, they've got to turn these moments into a finish. "50 minutes gone. Scotland still trail Brazil by 2, and you can feel how comfortable Brazil are without the ball. Casemiro just sits in that pocket and shuts the door. Scotland have to drag that screen side to side with quicker circulation, not keep trying to thread it straight through the middle. 50 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and you can hear the love for Kieran Tierney every time he gets involved. That calm, no-fuss personality matters now. Scotland have to build with patience and not force passes into that Casemiro screen. And at 5 minutes, it's a foul by Kieran Tierney, and Rihanna's Brazil a free kick back in their own hand. That's exactly what Brazil want at 2-0p. Slow it down, reset their shape, and make Scotland chase shadows before they can even build again. At 5 minutes, it's still Scotland 0-2. Brazil and Scotland have at least landed a punch early in this half with that Tierney delivery and McTominay's header forcing Alisson to hold. The problem is Brazil will happily take that Tierney foul, breathe and reset. Scotland need the next moment without gifting counters. 51 minutes gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 2-0, and you can see Brazil are totally comfortable defending in a compact shape now. They're protecting that space in front of the center backs and forcing Scotland wide, so the comeback route is basically crosses and second balls. At 5 minutes, it's still Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and Brazil look completely at ease without the ball, sitting in their shape and guarding that space in front of the center backs. But Casemiro sweeping up anything loose. Scotland's best route back feels like it has to come from wide deliveries and scraps in the box. 51 minutes, still Scotland, 0-2 Brazil, and Angus Gunn comes up with a big save, low to his left to deny Vinicius. Junior after Paqueta slides a gorgeous through ball in behind. That's the warning sign for Scotland. One straight pass and Brazil are in on goal again. Brazil at 2-0 up at 5 minutes, and you can see how happy they are to defend first and play second right now. That compact block with the space in front of the center backs protected is forcing Scotland into hopeful wide balls rather than clean passes through the middle. At 2 minutes, it's Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and Brazil are absolutely content to sit in that compact shape and make this ugly without the ball. The danger for Scotland is what we just saw with Paqueta. One clean pass in behind, and Vinicius is suddenly in on goal. At 3 minutes, it's Scotland 0-2 Brazil, and Angus Gunn is right in the spotlight again. Scotland needs in the gloves, but he's got to be huge here. After that, Vinicius save is calm, passing out from the back, has to help Scotland build without handing Brazil another breakaway. 52 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil by 2, and Angus Gunn is being asked to stand tall again. There's real Scotland goalkeeping bloodline there. And he's showing you with that calm save from Vinicius. Now his distribution has to be clean because one sloppy pass and Brazil is straight back in behind. .53 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil 2-0, and you can feel Scotland finally stitching a few 1-2s together, but that moment Patterson went down, and got nothing will test their discipline. It gotta play through it and keep the ball moving because Brazil are waiting for any stop to the rhythm. 54 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil by 2, and Angus Gunn stands up again, this time pushing away Vinicius. Junior's right foot strike from outside the box. That's the danger. Even from range, Brazil are getting shots off quickly the moment Scotland's shape loosens.
Brazil's win line is still basically nailed around a 9, 8 implied chance with Scotland, and the draw showing almost no real bid support and huge offers sitting above them. At 4 minutes and 0-2, Scotland need a goal right now to stop this feeling, financially and on the pitch, like a settled game. Brazil is still priced as a near lock in the high Z's with the win line pinned, and Scotland basically only offered, not bid. At 5 minutes and 0-2, Scotland need the very next goal to turn this from a cruise into a contest. Brazil stays priced like a near lock in the highs, and the book is still lopsided with Scotland in the draw, mostly offered rather than genuinely bid. At 5 minutes and 0-2, Scotland need the next goal soon, or this market just stays effectively closed.
55 minutes and Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and Vinicius already sitting on a brace with Gunn having to bail Scotland out again. You hear that old World Cup line about Brazil hat tricks being rare since Pelé in 58, and every Paqueta slip pass into that channel suddenly feels loaded with history. 56 minutes and Lucas Paqueta wins Brazil a free kick deep in the defensive half, exactly the kind of little stoppage that lets them breathe at 2-0 up. Scotland have to be so careful here because every time Paqueta gets time on the ball, that straight pass can release Vinicius again. 56 minutes, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and you can see that build-up getting a bit too sideways for Brazil to worry about. Scotland need midfield runners and quicker vertical 1-2s because Paqueta's just wait for that one straight pass to sprint Vinicius in behind again. 56 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and you can sense the frustration building with those penalty shouts getting waved away. They've got to keep the ball moving and commit runners beyond the striker because every pause to argue just hands Brazil time to reset that compact block. 56 minutes and Lucas Paqueta wins Brazil a free kick back in the defensive half, just taking the sting out of Scotland's momentum. At 2-0 up, Brazil will love these little pauses to reset their shape and make Scotland start to move all over again.
Brazil's win line is still pinned around the Highses with the draw, and Scotland basically showing no real bid and a wall of offers sitting above them. With Brazil up 2-0 at 7 minutes, Scotland need the very next goal to force any meaningful repricing. Brazil is still priced as a near lock in the Highses, and the books basically frozen with Scotland in the draw, barely bid while offers sit heavy overhead. At 7 minutes and 0-2, Scotland need the next goal. Faster this stays financially and on the pitch like a managed closeout.
57 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and you can feel the frustration rising with those penalty appeals not going their way. The dangerous Scotland stop playing to argue, hit the tempo, get runners beyond the ball, because Brazil are happiest when the game slows and resets. 58 minutes as Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and you can see the life in them now, but the penalty appeals are starting to distract. They've got to play through the contact and keep the move alive, because every stoppage just lets Brazil reset and breathe. 58 minutes, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and those penalty shots are becoming a real sideshow with the referee waving them away. Even if there's a touch, Scotland have to stay on their feet and keep the move going. Every pause to appeal just lets Brazil drop back in and reset. 57 minutes, and it's another Scotland foul, this time from Ben Genendo, with Lucas Paqueta winning the free kick deep in Brazil's defensive half. At 2 up, Brazil will happily take these stoppages, slow it down, and make Scotland start their chase all over again.
Brazil still priced as a near certain winner at about a 9-8 implied chance, with Scotland in the draw showing almost no real bid support and heavy sell walls overhead. At 9 minutes and 2-0, Brazil can keep managing tempo, and the market won't really move unless Scotland strike next.
59 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil by 2, and that latest penalty shout is waved away again. There's contact on the replay, but not enough to sell it. Scotland had to forget the referee and keep those midfield runners arriving because Brazil will love any pause in tempo. 60 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil 2-0, and you can see why this is such a special moment for year old Ryan in that Brazil shirt. Even at his age, he looks calm, taking the ball in tight areas, and that composure helps Brazil manage the game with a cushion.
Brazil's win price is now essentially a 9-9 lock, with the book still one way in Scotland and the draw showing almost no real bid support. At 0-2 on 9 minutes, it's going to take a Scotland goal soon to make this market even blink.
59 minutes, Scotland's latest penalty shot is waved away again, and the replay suggests there's a bit of contact, but nowhere near enough for the referee to bite. At 2-0 down, they've got to stay on their feet and keep the move alive because every appeal just hands Brazil a reset. We're at 6-0 minutes, Scotland 0-2. Brazil have just had Cuna's effort blocked before Paqueta drags one high and wide from distance. Then Shankland clips Casemiro and Brazil win the free kick deep, exactly the kind of little stoppage that lets them slow it down and protect that lead.
Brazil's now priced as basically a done deal, sitting right up at the near range with the draw and Scotland showing almost no real bid support. At 6-1 minutes and 2-0, Scotland need the next goal immediately or this stays locked, both on the pitch and in the market. Brazil is now literally priced as a 1-0 win with the draw, and Scotland essentially unbid and massive sell supply still sitting above them. At 6-1 minutes and 2-0, Scotland.
It's a goal on 6-0 minutes, Scotland 0, Brazil 3, and Matheus Cunha finishes it low into the bottom, right from the middle of the box. Bruno Guimaraes again the provider, and that's Brazil cutting straight through the heart of Scotland with one clean, decisive move. 61 minutes in Scotland, 0-3, Brazil, and even with that cushion, Brazil are still threading those Paqueta-style through balls that keep asking questions. For Scotland, it's a brutal choice now. Shut the door and keep the scoreline respectable, or open up and risk Brazil slicing straight through again.
Brazil is now fully priced as a lock, with the win line panned at effectively 1-0-0, and Scotland and the draw showing no real bid, while big sell walls sit overhead. At 6-1 minutes and 3-0, this is pure game management territory for Brazil. Unless Scotland find a quick consolation to change the mood.
At 6-2 minutes, it's Scotland 0-3 Brazil, and that's the brutal crossroads now for Scotland. If they push bodies forward for one goal, they've got to be spotless in transition because Brazil have 62 minutes and Danilo goes to the book for Brazil. A late one on Kieran Tierney out on that left wing, and Scotland have a free kick in a useful area. At 3-0 down, this is exactly where Scotland have to make the delivery count and at least ask a question of that Brazil backline.
Brazil is now fully pinned as a 1-0 win, with the only real liquidity sitting on Brazil and Scotland, or the draw basically just offered not bid. At 6-2 minutes and 3-0, Scotland need the next goal fast, or this stays locked and Brazil can just manage the clock.
62 minutes. Scotland still trail Brazil 3-0, and you can hear the frustration as they plead for something in the build-up. But Brazil will be delighted if Scotland get drawn into arguing every stoppage, just lets that back line set, and the midfield take the sting out of it.
Brazil is still pinned as a 1-0 win, with the book basically shut on Scotland and the draw and liquidity stacked on the Brazil side. At 3 minutes and 3-0, it's pure clock management now. Unless Scotland lands an immediate set-piece goal to change the feel, Brazil is still trading as a near-certain winner in the highs, with Scotland and the draw basically unbid and huge offer walls sitting there. At 3 minutes and 3-0, Scotland's only real lever is a quick set-piece goal. Otherwise, this stays locked and Brazil just runs the clock.
64 minutes, Scotland is still staring at a 0-3 deficit to Brazil, and you can feel the game stretching on them now. Those little gaps that open when legs go heavy are exactly what Brazil, because they'll just keep the ball and make you chase shadows.
Brazil's completely pinned as a lock with the win line effectively at 1-0-0, while Scotland and the draw are still basically unbid and sitting under heavy offers. At 0-3 on 6-4 minutes, it's pure Brazil clock management, unless Scotland nick one from this set piece pressure.
64 minutes and Scotland finally forces Lawson into action. Lewis Ferguson lashes one from a horrible angle and long range, and the Brazil keeper claws it up and over for a corner. That's at least a sign of life, but Scotland have to make this set piece count at 0. 64 minutes and Alisson Becker comes up huge again. First the long range hit, then McTominay's header from point blank range, and Scotland just can't find a way past him at 0-3. Then Vinicius is flagged offside and Brazil make the change. Fabinho on for Casemiro to keep that midfield screen solid.
Brazil is still priced as a locked win with the book basically one way and Scotland and the draw showing no meaningful bid under heavy offers. At 6-5 minutes and 3-0, that corner pressure is Scotland's last real chance to make the market even flinch.
65 minutes gone, Scotland still 0-3 down to Brazil, and you can hear the anger about that contact in the build-up to the third. But if they keep crowding the referee, every stoppage just hands Brazil another chance to slow it down and reset their shape.
Brazil is still fully pinned as a 1-0 win with real depth only on Brazil and Scotland or the draw, basically just sitting as offers with no meaningful bid. At 6 minutes and 3-0, even Scotland's recent pressure hasn't shifted pricing, so Brazil can keep managing the clock.
66 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, and the noise around the referee hasn't gone away after that third goal. With Danilo already on a 66 minutes and another Brazil change, Gabriel Martinelli is on for Lucas Paqueta and it stays Scotland 0, Brazil 3. That's fresh pace and direct, running out wide. Exactly the kind of swap you make when you want to keep stretching a tiring back line without taking risks. 66 minutes in and it's Scotland 0-3 Brazil, and you can see Scotland's energy starting to drain as the spaces open up. Their clearest route back into this is exactly what we've just seen. Tierney winning territory and set pieces, and someone has to get in Alisson's eye line.
Brazil is still priced as a lock Brazil win, with the book pin near 1-0-0 and Scotland and the draw basically showing no real bid despite big sell supply sitting there. At 6-7 minutes and 3-0, Scotland need an immediate goal to inject any doubt, otherwise this just stays frozen.
67 minutes, Scotland still trail Brazil by 3, and Tierney remains the one carrying real threat down that left channel. The crosses and set pieces are arriving, but unless Scotland bodies right in front of Alisson, he's reading everything far too cleanly. That Lusty Yellow is still the big talking point at 6-7 minutes. Was that contact right on the line or just outside? Either way, at 0-3, Scotland have to squeeze everything out of these Tierney-earned set pieces, and Brazil can't afford another rash lunge out wide. 68 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, but Tierney is finally dragging them up the pitch down that left side and earning the set pieces. The deliveries are arriving, yet Alisson's got a clear sightline every time. Scotland need bodies right on top of him to make it messy. 68 gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, but Tierney's deliveries have finally forced Alisson into a couple real saves. The crosses are good enough now. What's missing is a runner right on the goalkeeper because he's seeing it early and picking his spot. At 6-8 minutes, it's still Scotland, 0-3 Brazil, and those Brazil changes scream pure game management. Fabinho to lock the middle, Martinelli to keep that outlet running. Stalin to finally landing crosses, but Alisson can see it clean. Brazil can just soak it up and break. 69 minutes gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, and their best looks are coming from those set pieces and Tierney-type deliveries. But Asin's seeing them far too early. Scotland need bodies, crashing the 6-yard box, and someone right in his line of sight. Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0 at 6-9 minutes, and their only real foothold has been those crosses and set pieces, but AC's reading it all far too cleanly. If they want any late reward, they've got to flood that 6-yard box and get right into his eye line. At 6-9 minutes, it's Scotland 0-3 Brazil, and those second half subs are pure control. Fabinho sits in front of the back four, and Martinelli gives them that sprinting outlet when Scotland push up. Scotland's deliveries are improving, but Alisson's still seeing too much of it clean.
Brazil stays pinned at effectively a 1-0 win with the only real depth on that side, and Scotland or the draw still showing no meaningful bid. At 6-9 minutes and 3-0, Scotland need the next goal right now to make this market even twitch. Brazil still prices a done deal with the win side, effectively a 1-0 and the draw, and Scotland sitting under heavy offers with almost no real bid. At 70 minutes and 3-0, Scotland need the next goal immediately just to make this market blink.
70 minutes gone, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, and Tierney is the one dragging them forward down that left with those whipped crosses. Mixame is attacking the deliveries, but Alisson and that Brazil back line are seeing it early and clearing it cleanly. Even at 71 minutes, it's still Scotland 0-3 Brazil, and Scotland have at least found a little spell of grit through Tierney's left foot. Deliveries, with McTominay even forcing Alisson into a sharp stop. The problem is Brazil's box defending stays calm, no real traffic in front of the keeper, so the crosses aren't turned into chaos. 70 minutes on, Scotland are still 0-3 down, and that left side remains their clearest route. Tierney can put it on a plate, and McTominay will attack it. But Brazil's line is holding, and with Alisson getting clean sight of those headers, Scotland need bodies in the 6-yard box to force Messi's second ball. 71 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, and those Fabinho and Martinelli changes are pure control from Brazil. Fabinho just sits in front of the center backs and kills the second ball, while Martinelli's the ready-made outlet. If Scotland overcommit to those Tierney crosses. 72 minutes and Scotland win a free kick deep in their own half. Danilo, the one guilty of the foul. Brazil are 3-0 up, and you can feel that little bit of edge from Danilo after that earlier booking. Scotland will want to turn this restart into territory fast.
Brazil remains priced as essentially a locked win, with all the real depth sitting on Brazil and Scotland or the draw basically offered, but not bid. At 71 minutes and 3-0, unless Scotland grab the next goal quickly, this market stays frozen and Brazil just bleeds the clock.
72 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, and that's exactly why Brazil looks so comfortable. Now Fabinho's sitting in front of the center backs and just hoovering up the second balls. And with Martinelli's pace on the break, Scotland can't just throw numbers forward without leaving space behind. 72 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, and Brazil's shape just screams control. Now Fabinho's screening in front of that back four, so Scotland's second balls die in midfield. And up top, Kune's movement keeps the center backs guessing, so Brazil can manage the clock without losing the counterpunch. 72 minutes, and Scotland have a sight of goal. McTominay swings that left foot from the middle of the box, but he can't keep it down. That's the kind of central chance they've been crying out for. But at 3-0, you need it on target to make Brazilian glance over their shoulder.
Brazil still prices a locked win, with buyers only willing to pay essentially full value, and Scotland and the draw showing no real bid under big offer walls. At 72 minutes and 3-0, Scotland's mischance keeps us in cruise control for Brazil as they manage the clock. Brazil is still priced as a locked win, with all the depth sitting on their side, while Scotland and the draw are basically just heavy offers with no real bid. At 72 minutes and 3-0, that tells you the market expects Brazil to keep it tidy and drain the clock.
73 minutes in, it's Scotland 0-3 Brazil, and Brazil are managing this lead with real composure. Fabinho sitting in front of the center backs gives them control, and with Martinelli's pace waiting, Scotland can't step out and gamble without leaving space behind. 73 minutes, Scotland 0, Brazil 3, and it's not just the scoreline, it's the options Brazil can throw on late that keep the standard sky high. If those big names do appear, it's about fresh legs pressing and running in behind, not simply killing the clock. 72 minutes and Scotland get a real look at it again. McTominay arriving centrally, left foot from the middle of the box, but he balloons it over. Shanklin's done well to tee him up there, yet at 3-0 down, you've got to at least make Alisson work.
Brazil is still priced as a complete lock, with all the liquidity stacked on their win side, and Scotland or the draw basically sitting there as dead offers with no real bid. At 7:04 minutes and 3-0, the market saying, Brazil just see this out, unless Scotland land an immediate set-piece punch.
74 minutes gone, Scotland still trail Brazil by 3, and that's when Brazil can get ruthless with the bench rather than just coast. Fresh attackers would keep the press sharp and punish any Scotland gamble with runs straight in behind. 74 minutes gone, Scotland 0-3 Brazil, and that roaming Kuna roll is a nightmare to mark. He keeps drifting off the center back, so Brazil always have an angle to play through. At 3-up, that fluid front line lets them slow it down, then suddenly punch forward when Scotland step out.
Brazil is still priced as a locked win with all the real liquidity sitting on their side, and Scotland or the draw basically just offered with no meaningful bid. At 7:04 minutes and 3-0, that's the market streaming game management unless Scotland find a quick lifeline. Brazil is still priced as a near certain win, with all the real liquidity sitting on their side, and Scotland and the draw basically just offered with no meaningful bid. At 7:05 minutes and 3-0, it's telling you the market expects Brazil to keep control and close this out without drama.
74 minutes, Scotland 0, Brazil 3, and Vinicius Junior looked like the one playing with that extra swagger, always demanding it, always ready to run at his man. When Brazil are this far ahead, that confidence just spreads through the front line and the decisions get quicker and cleaner. 76 minutes and Scotland win the corner, but Shankland can't steer the header on target from the middle of the box. That's the picture of their night at 0-3. They're getting bodies in there, but the final contact just isn't clean enough to trouble Brazil. 76 minutes, Scotland still trail, Brazil 3-0, and even when the deliveries come in like that Shankland header, there's just not enough precision to make Alisson sweat. Brazil stay calm, win the second ball, and keep the game exactly where they want it. "76 minutes and Brazil make a statement change. Neymar is on, Matheus Cunha makes way, and it stays Scotland 0, Brazil 3. That's fresh invention in the final third for a team already in total control. Scotland's defenders now have to deal with a different kind of problem. 78 minutes, Scotland win a free kick deep in their own half as Danilo clatters into John McGinn again. That's a cheap one for Brazil to give away, and it just hands Scotland a breather and a chance to push their lineup. The pitch from the restart. "79 minutes and it's a corner for Brazil, conceded by Angus Gunn, with Scotland still trailing 0-3. That's the danger now. Brazil can load the box and Scotland have to defend the first contact cleanly, or it's another scramble right on top of goal. Corner to Brazil in the 7-9 minute. Angus Gunn forced to concede it after saving Vinicius Junior's effort, and Scotland still trails 0-3. Then a foul from Ryan McGinn gives Scotland a free kick in their own half. Just a moment to breathe and push the lineup again.
Brazil is still priced as a near 100 lock with all the real liquidity stacked on their side, and Scotland or the draw showing offers but basically no bids. At 8-1 minutes and 3-0 up the market saying, Brazil just manage a tempo and see this out.
Handball against Bruno Guimaz in the 8:0 minute, and Scotland will take the free kick with Brazil still cruising at 3-0, up on 8-2. 82 minutes, Scotland make the change. Anthony Ralston is on for Nathan Patterson, and it stays Scotland 0, Brazil 3. That's a straight fullback swap to keep the legs fresh and try to get a bit more thrust from wide, but Brazil's lead gives them all the control here.
Brazil is still priced as a virtual lock, with all the real depth sitting on the win side, and Scotland or the draw basically just offered with no bid. At 8-3 minutes and 3-0, the market's telling you Brazil can just keep possession, kill the clock, and walk this home.
Two minutes. Scotland make two changes with Ralston on for Patterson and Christie replacing Doet, while Brazil respond with Endrick and Alexandro coming on as they protect this 3-0 lead. And Fabinho goes into the book for a late foul on McLean, handing Scotland a free kick high up the pitch. "83 minutes as Scotland finally get a sight of it. Ryan Christie arriving centrally and lashing a right footer from the middle of the box, but he can't keep it down, and it flies wide. That's the problem. At 0-3, when the chance comes, it has to hit the target.
Even without the live book, the tape shows huge size, still leading Brazil at roughly 3/4 implied, while most of the other big clips are just people fading Scotland at near certain levels. At 8-4 minutes and 3-0, it's basically see it out territory unless Scotland make one quickly to force a tiny repricing. Brazil is still priced as a full lock with all the depth sitting on their side, and Scotland and the draw showing only offer walls and no real bid. At 8-5 minutes and 3-0, this is pure clock management territory for Brazil, unless Scotland lend an immediate consolation to even twitch the market.
85 miss, and it's a corner to Brazil. Ryan Christie, the one who's had to concede it, and Scotland still trail 3-0. Brazil will happily slow this down, load the box, and make Scotland defend that first contact cleanly all over again. Minutes and Brazil win another corner. Then Gabriel Magal swings a left-footed effort from the right side of the box, but Scotland get a vital block in. Even at 3-0, Brazil is still piling bodies into these set pieces and forcing Scotland to defend every second ball.
Brazil is still priced as a near 1-0 lock with all the liquidity stacked on their side, and Scotland and the draw basically just sitting as offer walls with no bids. At 8-7 minutes and 3-0, the market's saying, Brazil, just keep it tidy, run the clock and avoid any late chaos.
86 minutes and Brazil threaten again. Gabriel Magal just swings that left foot from the right side of the box, but Scotland get across to block it. Neymar's cross is causing problems straight away, and even at 3-0, Brazil are still forcing Scotland to defend inside their own area. '87 minutes, Lewis Ferguson clips Bruno Polymarket, and Brazil get the free kick in the attacking half. Still Scotland 0, Brazil 3. That's exactly what Brazil want. Now slow it down, take the sting out of the last few minutes, and make Scotland chase shadows before the restart. '89 minutes, and Alisson Becker stands tall again. Ralston gets a clean look from the middle after McGinn's cross, but the keeper saves it right up top. Then Ryan Christie flies in late on Neymar and goes into the book, handing Brazil a free kick on that left wing to wind this down at 3-0.
Brazil is trading as a complete lock with all the depth on their side, while Scotland and the draw sit as pure offer.
90 minutes gone, and Neymar's just bet one from the left edge of the box, but Angus Gunn gets up to it and palms it away at the top corner. Still Scotland 0, Brazil 3. And Scotland have made a late change too. Shea Adams on for Shanklin as they try to squeeze something out of these final moments. +1, and Scotland make another late change. Shea Adams is on for Lauren Shanklin, with Brazil still cruising at 3-0. Then Anthony Ralston gives away a foul on 9:02, and that's exactly what Brazil want. Now another stoppage, another chance to bleed seconds off the clock.
Brazil is effectively priced as a done deal now, with all the liquidity piled on their win side, and Scotland or the draw showing only offer walls and no real bid. At 9:04 with Brazil up 3-0, this is pure time killing to the whistle.
+5, and Scotland finally win a free kick in the attacking half through Lewis Ferguson, with the clock bleeding away at Scotland 0, Brazil 3. It's one last chance to sling it into the mixer, but Brazil will be set and desperate to clear the first contact cleanly.
Brazil is still priced as essentially 1-0-0, with the entire book leaning one way, and Scotland or the draw only showing as dead offers. At 9:05 and 3-0, that tells you the market's treating this as settled unless this last Scotland free kick turns into something miraculous. Brazil is still priced as a fully locked win with heavy bid depth on their side, and Scotland or the draw only showing as empty offers. At 9:06 and 3-0, the market's basically waiting for the whistle, not a late twist.